Welcome back. I added another column just to stay consistent with the way your book presents the material. Okay, so we worked through materials part. The point is to give you a little bit of a summary of where we are. You didn't need any materials in order to finish the ice cream that had already been begun on July 1st, right? But for the ones that were started and completed during the month, you needed all of the materials. And for the ones that were in process on July 31st, the ones that had already been started, you needed 100% of the materials in order to produce that as well. Okay, now let's look at the conversion cost, because this is where it gets a little bit trickier. For the ice cream that was begun on July 1st, it was already 70% complete. If you go back to what I was saying before about the hours, you would say, if it takes 10 hours to complete ice cream, you would say it's already had 7 hours in the process at this point. So now it's July 1st, and you want to finish that ice cream first. So if it takes 10 hours for the process, and it's already 7 hours in, then it would be another 3 hours to finish the process, right? So really, the additional conversion cost that it needs is another 30% in order to complete the items that are currently in process. All right, think about it. There's 5,000 gallons that are sitting on the floor. They're being worked on. They're in process, and they need another 30% of conversion time, which is direct labor and factory overhead, to be complete. So really, that's 30% times the 5,000 units, 5,000 gallons here, gives you 1,500 equivalent units for conversion costs. Now for the ones that were started and completed during the month, they were started and they were completed. So they actually have all of their material and all of their all of their material here and all of their labor and all of their factory overhead. Everything was done for these guys during the month. So you have 57,000 equivalent units for conversion costs. Now for the ice cream that's still in process on July 31st. Okay, so it's July 31st and it's 25% complete as far as its conversion costs. So you've only done 25% of the work so far that needs to be done on this ice cream to be complete. So what we're saying here is how much labor and factory overhead should be applied. Well, 25% of it should, because that's how far it is done so far, how far along it is in the process. So that gives you 750 gallons or equivalent unit gallons. So our total equivalent units for conversion cost is 59,250. And our total equivalent units for materials is 60,000 units. All right, that's where we are right now. Now just one thing I want to point out to you guys. The materials that are in here, what you're doing is that were started and had to be finished during the month. If you think about it, you have to take the 70 plus the 30 to get to 100%, right? But for the ones that on July 31st are not yet complete and they've just started being worked on, you're only going to use the 25% for how much it's already been converted into a finished product. So this whole time we've been talking units, units, units. Now we're going to actually start looking at some of the costs we're going to apply here. So let's look at direct materials first. If you look back to that original slide that I told you guys to write down, you would see that there was $66,000 worth of direct materials from this month. Okay, so we're starting off with $66,000 in direct materials, the total direct materials cost. What you're going to do is you're going to divide that number by the direct materials equivalent units. So you have 60,000, here, we'll do it this way. We have 60,000 equivalent units. Okay, so total direct material costs divided by total equivalent units. What this is going to equate to is $1.10 per unit. Okay, so for every unit, every equivalent unit, you had $1.10 of direct materials. And I'm going to show you how you can use that number in a second. But let's look at the conversion costs first. There. Okay. I used kind of an odd cell here for these because they're kind of a long cell. All right, but conversion costs. You're going to look at the total value again of the conversion cost during the month, which if we went back to that slide was $17,775, which is direct labor and factory overhead together, divided by the number of equivalent units, which is 59,250. Okay, so the amount here comes out to equals materials. That divided by that comes out to 30 cents per equivalent unit conversion costs. Now how are we going to use those numbers? Next step. I like to do this a little bit differently than the book. Okay, so this is really like step 1 was figuring out these 3 categories. Step 2 is applying the creating the equivalent units. Step 3 is figuring out what these costs are. Step 4, finally, is to start applying these costs to figure out the dollar values for all of these units. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line under here so you can see that we're breaking off at this point. I may or may not have enough room to do what I want to do. I might have to move the screen up. We shall see. Okay, so this is where we are right now. So the way I like to look at it is I like to look at each one of these categories individually. So you have your beginning balance of what was in your work in process, right? The beginning balance for the items in my work in process, again, this is, oops. Again, if you go back to that beginning slide, you would see that the value of those items that were in there on July 1st that were 70% complete already had a dollar value associated with them, and the dollar value was $6,225. Okay, that was the value of the work in process that was in there when the month started. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add direct materials and conversion costs to it. Well, the direct materials, did we need any direct materials for these guys at the beginning of the month? No, we didn't have any equivalent units here. We didn't need any amount. But I'm going to put it in here just to be complete. So we needed 0 equivalent units for direct materials. And what we would do is we would multiply that times the $1.10 from here, direct materials cost. Alright, in this case, the answer is 0, direct materials. Maybe I'll move this over. Okay, so you didn't need any of those beginning balance costs. So you didn't need anything here, 0. But for conversion costs, you did need additional conversion in order to complete the process, to complete the ice cream. So the question is how many equivalent units? Well, you needed 1,500 equivalent units at 30 cents a piece. And that 30 cents comes from here. So you had 1,500 units at 30 cents a piece. The amount of conversion costs would be $600. So for these units that were started and completed, the cost to finish them during this, the cost to make that first 5,000 gallons of ice cream, to finish it, was $825. I think I did something wrong there. Wait, 1,500 at 30 cents. Oh, that's why. Okay. 40 cents. You guys are supposed to stop me when I make a mistake like that. All right, 1,500 times 30 cents a piece. Somehow I mistyped a 4 there. So the amount that goes over to the next process for those first 5,000 is $6,675. Okay, so now let's do this for the ones that were started and completed. I don't think I'm going to have enough room. I'm going to have to move this up a little bit. Alright, started and completed during the month. So for the ones that are started and completed, they didn't have any beginning balance to start with because they were started and completed during this month. So again, we're going to say direct materials. What were the equivalent units for direct materials for this category? Well, there are 57,000 of them. 57,000 equivalent units at $1.10 a unit. So the total direct materials cost for all of those were $62,700. Let's make that $1. Okay, the conversion costs were, again, since they were started and completed during the month, it's the full amount. So you have 57,000 equivalent units at 30 cents a piece. So the conversion cost to finish those units was $17,100. So the summary of those costs is $79,800. So if you stop for a second, we transferred over all these beginning items and the ones that were started and completed, right? This 62,000 gallons here are the ones that we started and, well, that we finished during the month. and transferred over to the packaging department. So when I say, what are the costs that are transferred over to the next department, the answer is your $6675 plus the $79,800. Those were the costs that were transferred over to the next department.